So, one of the things that ended up happening then was basically, Facebook was, and not only that, but they also added this new feature called the Wave. Now, the Wave ended up getting booted out later on because one of the things about the Wave, as you know, if you remember the wave mechanic on Facebook, you could basically wave to people on Messenger. Now, as you know, there's a certain kind of, dare I say, kind of social metagame and kind of arms race between different types of people who would want to use the wave for nefarious purposes. And as such, or I say nefarious, I'm being silly, but as such, the wave ended up getting removed. Pretty much later on, around 2018, 2019, Facebook was still kind of sort of about games, and it was still that way around 2020. 2019, 2020 saw the rise of Subway Surfers, or maybe like the renaissance of Subway Surfers. If you look on like Reddit around 2021, maybe 2018, there was all sorts of like Subway Surfers memes. They were like big back around like the start of COVID, I think. Anyway, so Facebook has this weird renaissance age where it's all about games. What's interesting is that each age of Facebook, though, always informs and kind of taints the next one. Meaning that if you remember, Facebook, when it was going through its 2014-2016 like angsty phase of getting everyone to be mad at each other, it never really left that. You see, the engagement internet of having a chronological newsfeed died with 2013-2014. More so 2014-2015. What ended up happening was, in order to see anything remotely about memes and games and chronological news feeds anymore, you have to join groups. The initial newsfeed timeline on Facebook in the raw nowadays is disgusting. It's full of nothing but ads, sponsorships, clickbait article pages that I don't even follow, all sorts of other kinds of just nonsense. Meme pages, but that are like posting like rage comics and stuff in 2025. What? But if you join a Facebook group, like, some kind of, usually like a local one, like local Virginia moms for so on, local Virginia moms for supporting restaurants, right? One of the things that you'll notice is these groups basically harken back to like old style Facebook. And with even more of an emphasis on intention, having an intentionally grown community. Of course, I say community, but obviously anything that's kind of a hub, Discord server, subreddit, Facebook group, even large group chat, although mileage definitely varies, what you're dealing with when you're in an online group, unless you're taking that out and meeting in person at the local library, you're actually not necessarily in a community, you're in a collectively agreed upon ad space. So, and this is where things get a little weird, because maybe I can talk about why I don't like to join subreddits for hobbies. Although this is definitely going to be a hot take. Oh boy, okay, here we go. Canceled before my career even begins, right? So, if anyone knows, I have like a throwaway Reddit. Oh my god. Oh my god! Piss of shit! Piss of shit! Anyway, if anyone knows, I have a throwaway subreddit. I have a throwaway Reddit account. And one of the things that happens with that is that basically I have this throwaway Reddit. Okay, great. What happens is I only follow memes and corn because actual, like, hobby subreddits are toxic as shit. It's a bunch of people saying that they do the hobby a lot better, and the way that you do your hobby is really wrong. And I have seen firsthand other people complain about this too. There are people that say that like, one of the things that'll happen is a lot of women will join different subreddits for, like, winemaking, caretaking, stitching, crocheting, and that they'll sort of trade their experiences or talk about how they crochet and did or whatever, as well as how they want to continue to learn and techniques they want to trade. And one of the things that happens is they'll come upon like a bunch of other people who basically are really. One of the things that happens is the women will come upon a bunch of other women or men who are elitist or supremacist, who are argumentative, who are combative, who say like, oh, the way you're doing it is wrong, blah, 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 blah. Now here's something about that that's interesting though. It's not necessarily vitriol or even criticism in a vacuum. It's usually someone pushing some kind of masterclass, right? For instance, a while ago, I joined the r/writing subreddit, and one of the things about it was people were making these statuses where they wanted people to join their Discord servers. And I thought, well, why not? Because, you know, I can join a Discord server of other like-minded writers, and so on, and we can all learn how to write better, as well as, you know, look at each other's works. And that's kind of the main goal, right? It's like, I want eyeballs on my works, I want to join a group where, yes, it'll be a tit for tat, read their story, they read your story, blah, 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 cool. But one of the things that happens is, so I joined this guy's Discord, and I showed him a bit of my writing that I write, because as you know, I'm a writer. And one of the things that ends up happening is he basically totally like trashed it, and I was like, oh Jesus. But I said I try to keep my chin up high, because look, I'm in my late 20s. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Feedback is important. So I'm like, look, all right, cool. Well, then he goes on to say, hey, look, I think you would benefit from Grammarly. And he tells me to download Grammarly. Well, it turns out, later on, I ended up finding out that this guy was basically like some sort of like, he was on some sort of, what is it called? When you like get like 10 friends to join Grammarly, you know? He was basically some sort of weird affiliate for like Grammarly. I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, and like, sure, not saying my story is still perfect, but I'm like, that's weird that like he was a Grammarly affiliate, you know? He was one of those guys who's like, get 10 friends to download Grammarly, you know? And I think what happens is in a lot of online like hobby groups, for some reason we live in a day and age where instead of the carrot and whip or whatever the phrase is, it's just the whip. Like one of the ways that people get your attention now and try to sort of affiliate MLM your ass is basically by FOMOing you, by going, hey look, the way you're going about life is brutal and quick and short, and you could learn a thing or two if only you joined my masterclass, right? That's what a lot of like criticism nowadays kind of feels like. And maybe not necessarily criticism, but like vitriol. You know, when a lot of people are vitriolic and elitist in a lot of like hobby subreddits or Facebook groups, you know, they're trying to sell you something. They are trying to sell you something. And that should give you some perspective that, you know, a lot of times this vitriol is just a new way that people are trying to sell you stuff. Vitriol in of itself is a grift. And as I've said maybe a video or so ago with the whole engagement internet versus entertainment internet, it might as well have been this way for a while, right? Vitriol being affiliate grift? Absolutely. You know? And so I'm not even necessarily exhausted over negativity online. I'm suspicious of it. I'm suspicious of the vitriol because I'm like, because everyone's trying to sell something. Because what's the goal? If you tell someone that they're missing out on something, that they're stupid, that they're less than, you're basically, you know, you basically then have to swoop in and give the solution. So then that's what you're selling. You're selling that solution. So, now this is of course, in some respects, how marketing in general has been for a while, when it comes to like medicine or makeup or stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, on the internet, it's definitely found its calling. So I say let the vitriol just kind of be its own thing. Ignore it, or obviously, you know, try to boot it if it gets too stupid. Because one of the things I hate seeing, and maybe this is a sign of exhaustion. One of the things I hate seeing is when people engage bad faith. Like, the amount of times that I've seen people argue with other people on Facebook, when people are deliberately trolling and they're just trying to be a menace, I'm like, dude, do not argue with that guy. Just like boot him. You know, in this day and age, with their moderation capabilities, you would think that we would be calling people trolls left and right, and maybe we still kind of are. But people who are